Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Hamilton Planning Board. It's a few minutes after 7 o'clock. I'm Brian Stein, the chair. We have a fair amount to go through tonight, including 3 public hearings for potential modifications to our zoning bylaws. We also have a presentation on a potential Chapter 40B project on Bridge Street. We have a master planning update and some other board business in minutes. As the agenda reads, we have 3 public hearings tonight on bylaw amendments, but I'm assuming most of the people here are regarding Bridge Street, right? So we'll do that first, get that out of the way a bit, and then we'll go into our public hearing. So if Peter, if you're ready, if you'd like, you can, yeah, if you don't mind. I mean, I'd like to get that out of the way. That way, you're not all sitting here if you don't want to listen to the. Yeah. Okay. Hey, if you can just come up to the podium and speak into the microphone for it's being broadcast on television.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the board for putting me on the agenda at such short notice. Relatively quickly, we intend to
state your name and everything. For
I'm sorry, I'm Peter Conant. I have an architectural degree from MIT. I've been doing affordable housing development for 40 years. And I'm looking for special situations, and this particular site in Hamilton was one that I've been following for about 2 years. And we have acquired control of the site and are proposing to put 43 single-family homes on the site. And soon we will be applying for our project eligibility letter from Department of Housing and Community Development. I have some drawings here. I can show you what we plan to do. The homes would be sold in condominium ownership, although they are subdivided, they are single-family detached. 11 of the 43, or 25%, would be sold at affordable prices, which at this point are about $216,000. The others would be around $500,000, depending on what people decide.
How many units?
But they're all identical.
How many units will be affordable?
11.
11. Okay.
And of those.
Real quick, I just want to update everyone that at this point there's no application filed with our board. This is preliminary. It's just a conceptual, if you will, plan that you're proposing. This is an informal meeting tonight that you requested. You were at the Affordable Housing Trust a week or 2 weeks ago, I think, talking about it with them. So just everybody knows this is very preliminary. There's no application before us, so. We just agreed to hear him informally tonight. So
he brought graphics with him. I just wondered if we might be able to see them.
Yep. I'll do that in just a
Another point, too, to make is that when this project is formally submitted to the town, it will go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. It won't be the Planning Board. The Zoning Board of Appeals, as per Mass General Law, is the entity in every city and town that addresses 40B projects through the review process. So this is a courtesy call, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I intend to be over-communicative during the process, and I want to be really brief. I wanted to say that of the 11 affordable homes, 7 or 70% will be earmarked for local Hamilton residents. That is to say, teachers, fire, police, people working in town, people who have lived in town or related to people who live in town.
This is 7 of the 11?
7 of the 11, right. There's one that's earmarked for a minority, which could be part of the 7 or elsewhere, and then the rest are called balance of state, which for the lottery, which is the unfortunate way of selection, anyone in Massachusetts could apply. What else should I be telling you? Prior to making my application to the state, I need to touch base as a courtesy with your board, Board of Selectmen, Zoning Board of Appeal. I've already met with the Affordable Housing group and with the town manager. we think the site is unique. It's very steep. The homes which we will build there will be not visible from Bridge Street because we intend to create a dense evergreen screen at the base of the hill. There are also some issues with water runoff from Gordon Conwell, which we know very much about, having done some research and intend to solve that problem. There are also some traffic problems on Bridge Street, which we would like to address. So very quickly, if I could show you the graphics, and then I'll be happy to answer questions or leave you to other things. Maybe it makes sense to put them here so everyone can see them.
Why don't you bring them on the other side of the podium, please? Sir?
Then they can't see them.
Okay.
That's okay. He can't see it either.
Or, wait a minute. There's a lot of conversation going about which way to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, then, oh yeah, use this
As long as you have a
microphone.
microphone.
Use this microphone.
Bring it up, Richard, bring it over next to the microphone.
Yeah, I will.
Where have you done other 40B
Wait a minute,
projects?
wait until he's set up.
Yeah, use this microphone, okay? Sure. Please. Thank you.
I have not brought with me a resume, and I apologize for that. I will be getting one to you via Patrick. I've done a project in Concord, Massachusetts, Winchester, Massachusetts, 2 in Stowe, 1 in Bolton, 1 in Bedford, 2 in Acton, and also using a Section 8 subsidy. We've done rental projects in Lynn, Chelsea, and Framingham. And then some smaller ones. So I've been doing this for a while. I don't want to get in anybody's way. The Red Street site is shown here. North is up. This is the Gordon Conwell Library at the top of the hill. And the contours we're following with the proposed homes. This drawing is more of a placeholder. Somebody would look at this and say, this is totally out of scale for the neighborhood, and they'd be right. So what we intend to do before the next meeting is to group these and jazz them up so that they'll have some relationship to the single-family homes which are in the neighborhood. Thank you very much. So I guess I'm not sure how to do this. Maybe I can just talk loud. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
And if you don't, tell me or raise your hand. This is the top of the hill. Gordon Conwell's library is here. There are 2 catch basins on top of the hill that just drain onto the site that we're going to be looking at. The result of that is that there's a lot of runoff, and people on Ridge Street complain occasionally that the gully that's created just blows out and fills up the drainage section here. It's a very steep hill. We intend to keep this grade at 7 or 7.5% maximum, which is for every 100 feet it would rise about 7.5 feet, which I think is doable. These homes are all, we have 3 or 4 different models. Right now they're all 2-bedroom homes. UHCD and Mass Housing would like to see a certain percentage as 3 bedrooms. We can do that. The number of units is really controlled by the fact that we're in a Zone 2 Aquifer Protection District for the local well, which although it's not active, the zone is still active. So we're taking account of that. We will have a group septic system with leaching areas down in this area. And over here near Miles River Road, we're going to preserve 3.5 acres of open space. We just won't touch it. And we'll do walking trails and picnic areas and whatever open space can be used for. So that's basically it. This drawing is a detail of the fact that the existing site slopes at a pretty good rate. It's about a 25% slope. And so with some judicious cuts and fills, we think we can preserve a number of areas where there are existing trees. These would all have walkout basements. One of the members of the Affordable Housing Trust said, well, that's a lot of concrete to be looking at. And I said, no, the walkout basement would be built with windows and sliding and so forth. So even though the units are fairly small, 11 to 1,200 feet, 2 bedrooms, Not included in that is about 900 feet of a full basement with windows on 3 sides and a one-car garage within that volume. So we think that's a pretty good deal. And the market, we hope, would be first-time buyers or people who are looking to downsize and have a nice little cottage in Hamilton. And I think with that, I'll stop talking. And you had a question about other
Yes.
places that I've worked, which I think I said something about.
Yeah, can you describe at what level of adjusted median income the affordable units will be targeted for?
The affordable units typically, under the state law, require people to make no more than 80% of the median income. That's approximately $65,000 now. It's 80% of
I know.
of $80,000.
Yeah, I just wanted to know the range of, is it 80, 60?
Well, what the state likes to do is to say you need to make these available to people making about $10,000 less than that, because nobody's going to fit
Okay.
in that narrow window if you're not making this much.
Got it.
But you're making less than that. So we're talking about $65,000 down to approximately $50,000
Okay.
for a unit selling for $216,500, which is the number right now. That may go up slightly depending on.
And that number, that AMI, is that for a family of 4?
Well, I don't know that a family of 4 would want to have a 2-bedroom unit.
No, I understand that. What I'm trying to get at is your target population.
Well, the target population is those people making at or less than that amount, up to a family of 4.
Right.
As I think I just mentioned, MHFA may require 10% of these, or 4 units, to be 3-bedroom units.
Yeah.
And we can do that. That would bring us right up to the limit of what the Aquifer Protection Title V, 110 gallons per bedroom, recirculating sand filter, that type of protection would require.
Okay. And can you give us a sense of the timeline when you would be presenting a full proposal to the?
Sure. I hope within less than a month to have a proposal into the state. The state takes typically 60 days to come back with a letter. After that 60 days, we might need another month to prepare the application to you. So we're talking April, May, June, sometime in July, maybe August to come back. And then, of course, the meeting with the zoning board can take as long or as short.
Right.
I've had them typically go out, the total project approval time, well over a year. The quickest one I ever did was in Concord, which was 10 months. So I'm thinking sometime in 2020 if we're fortunate.
Got it.
There's a lot of anxiety floating around about this in terms of.
We've been down that road already with
Okay.
with Harbor Light's proposal for both affordable senior housing and family housing. So the town has been through about 6 or 7 different sites.
Okay.
So I think in general, the population it has been educated on 40B and affordable housing.
Right. Well, I read some of the articles about Harbor Light's proposal down behind the high school, and people were confusing affordable housing with housing for the homeless and.
No, we get it.
Okay.
At least I get it. There's a great deal of misinformation and fear as to what affordable means, and unfortunately, it tends to bring out can bring out the worst in people in terms of understanding and trying to understand what it means.
Could you just review for everybody here what a typical application is and what's entailed in the zoning board process? Because traffic studies and
Well,
just that whole thing.
typically the zoning board will ask me to put. Sorry. under your comprehensive permit regulations, which Patrick very nicely provided, the zoning board will ask me to escrow some money, $20,000, to start to hire consultants like traffic and environmental review. They'll want to look at the septic system, quality of the soil, any issues that occur on the site, and that'll be replenished as necessary. So my engineers will be hired to do the initial work. I would say that typically a 40B doesn't go into every detail. We won't be specifying the grade of siding, whether we're using hardy plank or cedar or something else. But it will give you an idea, and then the zoning board will ask for input from this board, from police and fire, selectmen, DPW, everybody, and then in the decision there will be conditions that I will either agree with or not. We've never had a decision from the ZBA that was onerous, so I think that would work out. I think the biggest issue for me is just to make sure that the local neighborhood is aware that for a project of this size, the traffic generated is almost non-existent. There are turkeys stomping around in the woods. There are deer that have been seen wandering through the woods. I don't think this is a special endangered species habitat. It's not a wetland. I've done some deep holes and soil testing, and the perk rate is wonderful. It's good soil bearing capacity for homes and for a septic design. So I may be not really answering your question, but all those types of issues are considered by the zoning board, and in the decision sometimes run 25 to 30 pages in terms of what I can do, what I can't do.
I wanted everyone here to know kind of what's involved with it. I mean, most
Sure,
of us
yeah,
know.
that's fine. Yeah.
I'd like to ask more about your background and project experience. You cited quite a number of projects. Could you send to Patrick a partial list of the projects?
I have that written out. My hard drive went down the other day, and I found out that my backup wasn't what I thought it was, so I'm going to have to physically go out and photograph some of these.
We'd like to all look up things, look on the web.
Absolutely. I think you should check me out. I mean, I think in this business you're only as good as your last project, so you should talk to the board in Holliston and in Acton and Concord, Belton, Stowe, Bedford, wherever I've been. Absolutely. We try to be reasonable and so forth. So that's where we are, and soon I'm sure we'll be coming back with more detailed ideas of how and when we want to do this.
I have one more question,
Sure.
which is the sketch of the layout of the project roads shows that entrance and exit, or both ways, I'm not sure which it is, are all on Bridge Street. As we received a letter from people that were very worried about Miles River Road, and I don't think that that's going to be impacted necessarily.
We have no roads coming out on Miles River. In fact, that's where the open space will be preserved. We also have in our purchase agreement with Ord and Conwell the ability to do an emergency access up to their parking lot behind the library, if that's necessary. Right now, we only have one point of access. We had two, and we decided that the other isn't necessary. The dead-end portion of the portion of the road that leads to the loop is less than 500 feet, and if necessary, we can build that as a dual carriageway so that there's a one-way in and one-way out, so that we have a road next to a road, if you know what I mean.
Great.
Just one request, and I don't know if this is typical of boards. It would be interesting to see in your application if you could do some preliminary economic impact analysis in terms of what the tax revenue is that this will generate,
Right.
in terms of potential costs.
Okay.
Just so, because that's always a question people ask is,
Sure.
what do you estimate at this point in time? And I know you're not under contract, the sort of development cost of this project when it's once finished.
Well, the costs.
Run
We are profit limited to 20% of whatever that cost is. So if it costs us 20 million, we can only make 24.
I'm not worried about what you're making.
All right, but, well, I'm backing into your answer because cost is important, because I obviously want to keep these within even the market units. I want to keep them reasonable. The cost right now is about $16 million.
Okay, good. That's
And there are a lot of estimates in there for site work, because
understood.
that's the big
I'm not looking for a commitment, just a general ballpark number.
We're purchasing the land for $2.5 million.
Yeah.
We have a site development budget of a little over $3 million. The homes we're figuring somewhere at $200 a foot, and then we have our soft costs and financing costs, marketing costs.
That's
sort
good.
of thing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I appreciate the time.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the presentation. Excellent.
We look forward to your coming with an application.
Say again?
I say we're looking forward to seeing your application. We've
Well,
thought about this
it'll be
site for
happening,
several years.
Yeah.
Before you run off, just let me take a peek at it.
Sure.
Can I, okay, I'll use mine.
And then this is the top of the hill with the library from Gordon's home.
The water easement.
Correct.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the little pump house, and the water comes up to
Yeah.
the cisterns.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Very, very enlightening.
You're welcome. That's yours, right?
This is mine.
Can you ask if they'd like to develop one downtown too? We've got some land sitting there idle, right?
Thank you for front-loading that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
About
Coming.
About $250,000 in new tax revenue.
If they're all leaving, it looks
Well,
like
if
we've
it's
got a
development
tremendous
costs
audience
are-
for our hearings.
Thinking the same thing.
He's got to sell, right, so somewhere around that.
why we should
So
have
that
backloaded
times,
it. They
you
know
know,
something
you divide
might
by
go to town
1,000,
meeting.
that's 16,000 times our tax rate, which is around 17 per thousand.
Okay. Zoning bylaw amendments, public hearings. Rick, do you want
I'd
to
be
read the
happy
notice,
to.
please? For our vast audience.
Our vast audience.
I'm overwhelmed.
You should be. I hope you're not intimidated, though.
I never get intimidated.
Okay. The Hamilton Planning Board will hold 3 public hearings on March 19th, 2019, beginning at 7 p.m. in the Memorial Room, Hamilton Town Hall, 577 Bay Road, to hear, deliberate, and vote upon 3 amendments to the Hamilton zoning bylaw. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed bylaw should appear at that time and place designated. Copies of the proposed text are available for viewing with the town clerk, planning office, and building department, and may be inspected during regular town hall business hours. The hearings are in accordance with Mass General Law E40A, Section 5, and include hearings on the following: signage, considering an amendment to the Hamilton zoning bylaw in Section 6.3 to allow the town to regulate signs within all zoning districts; microcellular facilities, consider amendments to the housing zoning bylaw in Section 7.3 to allow the town to regulate microcell and or small cell wireless facilities, renumbering the existing 7.3 wind energy facilities to become 7.4. Inclusionary housing, considering amendments to the housing zoning bylaw to add a definition for area median income and modify the inclusionary housing bylaw, Section 8.3, in appropriate sections to allow the town to impose inclusionary housing requirements as part of applicable projects.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first up is signage. Just for everyone listening out there, this is being modified to address some constitutional issues per our town council. It's also been simplified somewhat as well. Basically, I think in a nutshell, in a residence district, we're only allowing temporary signs, 2 signs per lot within the contiguous lots within the same ownership. Temporary meaning no more than 2 months in any calendar year. For elections, it's slightly different, but you're allowed 5 signs per lot. Business district didn't really change much, correct, Patrick?
Yeah, other than the 2 signs per contiguous lots and those constitutional issues that town council saw, there were no changes to this bylaw at all.
I did have one question, because I was at the Board of Selectmen hearing last night, and they were talking about this. And somebody mentioned, and I don't know if this is in fact true or not, that if somebody puts up a for sale sign, that's included in this bylaw, and the for sale sign cannot be up for more than 2 months before they're required to get a special permit. Does anybody know, is that?
I mean, it's, technically that's the way it reads.
Doesn't read that there are any exceptions to that, so.
Okay, just curious.
So for the first 2 months, the seller has no need to get a special permit, is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
I think we need to add an exception for that. I mean,
I think it would make sense, because it seems a little overbearing.
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Plus, it would greatly increase our workload.
Well, it would just require a lot of special permits, and people wouldn't be coming in for them because we wouldn't be tracking it.
So you should think of a case, though, where somebody has a for sale sign up forever.
I've never encountered that.
I have encountered that.
Have you?
Just that it's by seller, by owner, and it would just sit there for months. Do you want to put any restrictions, or your assumption is that if it's a realtor, I expect that it will not be there?
Right. Once it's sold, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of, I understand what you're saying, but I still think an exemption or exception needs to be made for real estate for sale signs. I mean, it may happen, but then it's going to become a neighbor complaining.
Yeah, agreed.
And coming before.
Because clearly 2 months is too short.
Right.
Right.
For a for sale sign.
So do we just say in 6.3.1, temporary signage do not require a building permit, but must comply with all other provisions of this section 6.3, comma, excepting, I don't know, real estate signs or
For sale.
for sale, property
For that property.
real estate for sale signs, something like that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Just put it right in the front there.
So your 6.3.1, number 4, is that what you're suggesting?
After 6 months, we want a fire sale.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could say that not to exceed 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to put it, it could be number 4 or, the top.
So are you suggesting as making it number 4?
It could be. Or it could just be right after the last sentence of that first paragraph, or in that last sentence.
In addition to that second sentence in the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Where would that be?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would make it,
Does that?
Oh, yeah.
So all permanent signs temporary signs do not require a building permit, but must comply with all other provisions of this section 6.3, comma,
Except,
excluding
yep. Real estate.
real estate for sale signs.
It might be, I think, but I don't think it is for most of us. I think traffic are constrained.
Yeah. And the other thing, in 6.3, 6.3.2 residence districts, there's no more than 2 signs per contiguous lots within the same ownership. It doesn't specify whether that's temporary or permanent. I mean, I know it's temporary, it's supposed to be, but does that read that way to you, that it could be either?
Yeah, because 6.3.1 is both.
Right.
So do you just
We
want
should
to add
say,
the word temporary?
Yeah.
Okay. No more than 2 temporary.
Yeah, because that's all that we're allowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Signs per contiguous lots.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just adding one word?
Yes.
After the number 2. Other than that, I think it's
Yeah,
fine.
I think it's fine overall. Any other-
So I make a motion that we accept the amendment, amending the Hamilton zoning bylaw, section 6.3, to allow the town to regulate signs within all zoning districts with the language as amended at this hearing, to include new language in 6.31 and 6.32.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous?
So that I can write it down, because I may put this in the annual report. What's number 4 going to read as, please?
Well, it's going to go as,
6314.
it's going to go as part of the second sentence in 6.3.1.
Okay.
Wording follows the word section 6.3, comma, excluding real estate for sale signs.
Okay.
Thank you.
On to microcellular facilities bylaw.
You will notice on this language that Dan and I were originally calling this microcellular facilities.
Yeah.
Since that time, the vernacular has changed to small wireless facilities, which you'll see in parentheses, and alone as SWFs.
Yep. Great. So,
Again, just a little background on this. This language came largely from the city of Worcester. It was a city ordinance for them. We have made a number of changes, particularly in that this language in Worcester was, and its ordinance was overseen, managed, and enforced by the city DPW department. We have changed this significantly to allow for the planning board review as a special permit process. We felt like that was an important aspect, particularly in that we're a smaller community, particularly also in that we include placement of these facilities on public rights of way, private rights of way, public property, and private property as well. So it basically covers all land area within the community. Another element that we knew would be really important too is to bring some aesthetic kinds of requirements as part of this, which you'll see as part of the approval process. I have taken those largely from city ordinance from the city of Peabody. that was very helpful.
So one, I don't know, wordsmithing thing, I guess, is we've got, 731 is purpose and intent, then you go to A, definitions, you go through all the definitions, and then we get to C, development standards. I don't see a B anywhere.
Say that again, Brian.
So you have 731, purpose and intent, then you go to A, definitions, and then there's no B, and we go straight to C,
Okay.
development standards.
I will
Yeah, it just jumps.
find out where, or if there is a Scribner's error there.
Okay. And then the other comment was, let's see. I think what page this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it needs some help with formatting.
6.
Yeah, no question about the formatting part.
Okay.
So on page 7, you have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You get to 6, and it talks about the, upon receipt of the application, the planning director shall do a number of things. And one of them is make a determination as to the completeness of the application within 10 days, which is part of the federal law. But then, next page, it talks about the approval process. And there's a couple formatting things there, but the second number 2, it says the planning board will review a small wireless facility special permit application and provide a determination of whether it is complete to the applicant in writing within 10 days. So it's saying the same thing, but it's saying the planning board will. We're not going to do that in 10 days. It's you or the planning department, I think, that will do that. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we have to say it in both places, I guess, is the other question.
I think that we could take that second reference out, which is under the approval process.
So strike number 2
I
too?
think, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah,
So there was already a number 2, but yeah.
the numbering and lettering is like,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's the problem when you take it from different sources. And there was work that was done by Dan, by myself, and by town council, and we unfortunately ended up with a lot of formatting issues.
So, is that something you take care of, or?
I'll do my best.
Patrick, could you describe what you think the process will be for these small ones?
Oh, sure.
I'm not sure that, what I think has to happen is that you can't just put one on the corner somewhere and get it approved and then just go plunk, plunk, plunk and do them all over town.
No, this is, it functionally works just like a cell tower in process. It's evaluated as to whether or not the application fits this bylaw language. If it doesn't, I write a notice back to the applicant and tell them formally that it does not. So they have to resubmit and address the errors. If it does meet the requirements, then the full application goes to the planning board through the ordinary special permit process with the advertisements, et cetera.
Hearings
And then all of the elements that you see in here. In here is the review process, application requirements, et cetera, are what you, are the elements that you will compare it to.
I can grasp that, but what I don't understand, because I heard, I think, that this new technology, you just plunk them down all over town so that you get, you know, very short distances between poles, or you take over poles. And if they're doing that, we don't know to what extent it's going to be an ugly installation or a good one, and
But each one gets reviewed, though.
That's right. So basically,
pole by pole?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It talks about it here that they can batch up to what, 10 together if they want to review. I think it was up to 10.
That's correct.
But we can review them singularly.
Okay, so that's why I was raising the question. Is I read the part about the batching, and I just didn't understand whether it's a new application pole by pole, or
Right, so, I mean, yeah, some will be pole by pole, and there'll be others that they batch together. Up to 10.
Wasn't there language in here about the plan, too? There,
Overall, yeah.
I think they had to submit an overall plan if they were,
That's correct.
Yeah, correct.
because in theory, I mean, Verizon at some point is going to go to 5G, and they're going to use their own poles.
Right.
And they're going to want to do town by town, so I imagine they're going to, at some point, come and say, you know, we want to do the town of Hamilton.
they're really piggybacking on the phone company, because they're phone company poles or the light poles.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
What are you saying? They all
That's
want
what I
it.
just said. Verizon will be coming in with 5G, and they're going to want to use their existing poles.
right.
As we were notified through the mobility application process, they found out that all of the national grid poles that are carrying electrical service, they will not accept this type of addition to those poles. So, you know, service providers of these small wireless facilities are going to have to find other poles that aren't national grid power poles.
so are there any poles like that in town?
So is
Light
it just the
poles.
style of pole, or is it National Grid is not allowing their poles?
National Grid does not allow this type of addition. They will not lease to these kinds of things.
Do you know why?
They think that it's a conflict functionally. They want to preserve their power and not impede it. They don't want other people monkeying around with their equipment.
But they already have people, Comcast and Verizon, cable wires and Fios wires on their poles.
There is that.
But why do they accept that rather than this?
Because those are wires rather than,
Broadcast.
these small antennas and antenna dishes that, are sort of analogous to what you would see on someone's house that are trying to get cable reception.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand the
It's going to
problem.
be very messy.
Could be.
Yeah, because it sounds like because
Well, what it does is it forces them to locate these things on private property, in barns, in steeples, in other kinds of structures that are close to density centers, if you will. And if there aren't real density centers, they're not going to bother.
Right.
and all the poles are, at least in town, I think, isn't it National Grid that owns them all?
That's what we just
Yeah,
said.
that's what he said, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there are exceptions. There are light poles that the town owns, particularly on parks and things like that.
Yeah, but those aren't necessarily where they want to put their small units.
Well, that could become a commodity, though,
Yeah,
in that National Grid doesn't want them.
right.
Yeah, we could put out the town could put out a bid for private homeowners to, and then we can license them.
Well, I'm assuming, at least to start, they're gonna want them along, you know, major thoroughfare, 1A, and town centers and so forth. But,
Yeah.
The town could make money off of leasing poles,
Well,
light poles.
Well, that was why, you know, when mobility was here, I said, what about the,
Yeah.
one at the fire station, the tower at the fire station?
Right, you were right.
But, you know, they could put it at the shopping center, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
why not put one on top of the roof at Cumbies? I mean, there's tons of places for them that aren't
Yeah.
gonna be, you know.
I didn't hear your reference.
What's that?
You said you could put it on something, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, at the top of the roof at Cumbies, Cumberland Farms. You know, something like that. I mean, that's right downtown. I mean, there's tons of places to put these things
You know, and
that aren't on poles.
particularly where you have density centers like downtown.
Right.
You get outside of that, there are fewer opportunities, but I would think that's probably going to be fine.
If they did want to put them in places like Cumberland Farms, would they have to still come in and get a special permit?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
anything. Yeah, whether it's private property or not.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
No, no comment.
Any other changes?
Substance-wise, outside of formatting and order, is there anything?
Other than striking the section that we struck,
Right.
the number 2, the second 2.
Yep.
Right.
Want me to make a motion?
Be delightful.
I move to approve the amendments to the Hamilton zoning bylaw in section 7.3 to allow the town to regulate microcell and/or small cell wireless facilities, renumbering the existing 7.3 wind energy facilities to become 7.4 with the elimination of the second number 2.
Second.
Yeah, well, yeah. On whatever page it is, on
Right.
6 or 7.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to the inclusionary housing bylaw change. This one's very straightforward. Basically, all we're doing is changing defining the area median income, and then changing the fee and lieu payment for each potential unit from 2 times the AMI to 3 times the AMI, correct? Other than that, I think that was.
Just have a question for Patrick. In terms of application, and I know we talked about this, but I just wanted to make sure everybody understands what this means is the area, and I won't have the actual dollar amount correct, but the area median income it's an area designated by, I guess, Essex County? Is that how or is it the several counties in the Northeast?
It, as I understand it, is done by HUD in our geographic area that includes a number of different communities within Essex County.
Yeah, I think it's actually, it may be Essex and Middlesex as well.
Yeah, I
but
thought it was a combination of counties, but.
So And that area median income, and I won't, don't quote me on this number, is now approximately $100,000 and for a family of 4.
No, well, he just mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
He just mentioned
Right.
it was
It's-
80-something thousand.
Which comes to about 65,500.
Yeah.
Well, so we need to be clear about what the impact is here, because this is the area, we want 3 times the full area median income, not a
Right.
percentage of it.
Right.
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 Right, well, so so there's AMI,
Right,
and then there's 80% of AMI.
right. Well, that's why I'm bringing this up.
Right. But it says 3 times AMI,
Right.
not 3 times 80% of AMI.
Right, I only bring this up because in the area, the second, where it defines the area median income, the midpoint household gross income for a specified geographic region area are often expressed as a ratio of the area median income, e.g. 80% of AMI.
Right.
So it could be in the future confusing for somebody reading this going, well, do they mean that this formula should be 80% of AMI or 100% of AMI? So yes, you're right, it reads in D, a fee in lieu of payment shall be 3 times the area median income, and that's why I just said the area median income, let's say, is $100,000.
Right. But I guess I don't read it exactly how you do. I mean, there's 2 sentences there, the AMI, the midpoint household gross income for a specified geographic area, determined by HUD annually. Income limits for housing programs are often expressed as a ratio of AMI. So they're talking about various income limits, whether it's 40, 60, 80%, those ratios of AMI.
Yeah.
So I think
So you could just take out the EG 80% of
Well, you-
AMI.
you
and
could.
just-
I would, because somebody on a planning board reading this 10 years from now will be going, well, it's just unnecessarily, I think, confusing.
Or should it be changed to often expressed as a percent of the area median income? Because a ratio of the area median income, I don't think that's quite right, the right statement at all.
So,
Well,
the
I
real
think,
sense is
your point is you want to define AMI.
yes,
Right.
And that's it.
You don't want to have the percentage in there.
right.
Okay.
So,
So I think it should say, point household, I don't know what midpoint really is, but.
Okay,
Yeah, I know
they're
what it is.
talking about the income limits. Actually, that income should be capitalized. Income limits for the housing profile are often a percent of the area median income, such as 80% of AMI.
So the question is,
Well-
do you even need any of that in there? Or do you just need a definition of AMI?
That's right, that's what they're trying to do. You could say the midpoint household gross income for a specified geographic area determined by
HUD
US,
annually,
right,
period.
Period, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're right. You don't need it because you're defining AMI, and AMI has nothing to do with the 80%.
And I'm not quite,
The 80% is part of the special permit.
Right, that's what that,
Or
okay,
the-
okay, so,
The developer's decision.
but is midpoint the proper term?
Yes,
well, I'm not,
what
that's what
median
I'm,
is.
that's what I'm trying, that's what I'm trying,
Median?
as opposed to average.
Yeah.
Right,
That-
it's a median, not the average.
that's what I'm trying to get at. We don't, I mean, that's
Oh,
nice
wait.
that they're defining it, but for, what I'm trying to make sure that everybody understands is, and I'm using this as an example, not an exact number, in the geographic region where Hamilton resides, the area median income for a family of 4 is around 100,000. Is that,
I think it's more like 80.
I think that's correct.
Well, are you saying the one determined by HUD, or our actual?
No,
our actual
no,
meeting?
because our median income in the town is 114.
14.
114. I'm talking about the area median income.
That's defined by HUD.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think you're wrong. I think it's in the 80s.
I think the problem here is that
well.
what they've done is they put two definitions in one.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So, I think as we talked about this, Patrick, our current contribution was around 147, wasn't it? Under the,
143 or 147?
It was 146,
146.
500.
that's right. So we wanted to, and that was two times, two times the area median income. Is that correct?
It had to be lower
Can't be.
than
Oh,
that.
well, yeah, but it
Well-
can't be.
I wonder if it was
Well,
80%?
well, it would be 70, it would be, what?
73.
73,000. So that sounds reasonable
For a
at the
family
time
of
we
two.
did that. So at 100%, 73,000 for a family of four
Yeah.
would make sense. So now, I think it's, we could look it up. Nobody has a laptop here, or, I just wanted to make sure, I know when we did this, we knew what we meant. So 3 times the area median income, I think, is now,
300?
well,
It's
I think it's a little less, but
273,
what is 273?
3 times the median income
That makes it like,
is what we calculated it out to be,
So divide by 3.
right, 91.
Okay, so it's, right, I think it was 91.2 or something like that. Okay, I just want to make, I just want
And the
to,
difference is that this is adjusted annually. It's
Right.
not tied to a particular number.
right, no,
like
I
the
just
other
wanted to
one
make
was.
sure that everybody understood what we were,
Yeah.
the formula.
Yeah, and another important thing too, that may come up at town meeting, an individual who came to the joint Board of Selectmen Finance Committee discussion on articles, I guess it was about a month ago, was making a comment that we should change the requirement in the senior housing bylaw to have the affordable units up to the age of 62.
Right, that
And-
was Rosemary Kennedy.
Right, and, you know, the fact remains is that's a different bylaw. This is a discrete bylaw change that is exclusively oriented to inclusionary housing.
Right, and
It relates to senior housing, but it doesn't change anything in the senior housing bylaw. So that's an important distinction to make now and on town meeting floor.
Right.
When that comes up.
Right. Okay. Just wanted
so
to,
we're going to change that definition to say the midpoint household gross income for a specified geographic area determined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD annually, period.
Yeah,
That's it.
correct.
with a small case D. in
Yeah,
December.
just
Yes.
taking out that period
Yep.
between area and.
So everything else is deleted.
And then deleting e.g. 80% of AMI.
Deleting income limits for housing programs are often expressed as a ratio of area median income, e.g., yeah. Yep.
Great.
Okay. I make a motion that we adopt the amendment to the Hamilton zoning bylaw to add a definition for area median income and modify the inclusionary housing bylaw, section 8.3, in appropriate sections to allow the town to impose inclusionary housing requirements as part of applicable projects as amended relating to the area median income.
Second.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
So now I have a question to make sure, when I put this in the annual report, what we've done is accepted these to go forward to the town meeting, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Patrick, do you have an update on master plan?
Yes, a few things relating to that. I've passed around the graphic that I'll ask members to circulate to your neighbors, to your friends, those that may be interested in coming to our second forum. We originally had that second forum session scheduled for tomorrow night. That was postponed to April the 29th. So that gives us a little bit more time to do some of the fiscal analyses that Judy Barrett is now undertaking. It also allows us to get hopefully a little bit more exposure to the forum on that particular night. So I have sent this graphic to all the members. I have it on Facebook, the town's Twitter account. It's on the town's website right up front as well. I'm still getting commentary from folks that are completely unaware of the process in spite of all the efforts that we've made. But that unfortunately is always the way that this works, but we'll continue to try to make people aware of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. I get emails every day from folks that are shocked that we're in the process and they haven't been notified with a letter or something to that effect. You know, we've taken every means of notification that I know of, other than having someone on the back of a pickup truck with a megaphone.
We could hire the Blues Brothers to do that.
Yeah.
Or putting out a giant townwide mailer. Yeah. Right. That.
Yeah.
Did you, you had mentioned the idea of sending a notice of cancellation of the March 20th meeting through the schools?
I didn't end up, getting to it, but.
Probably would make sense if you could post something at the library door, because undoubtedly some people are going to show up.
Yeah, it was to be at the high school cafeteria.
Oh, right.
So I've notified the high school that we no longer need the use of their cafeteria tomorrow night, but I'll definitely have something on the door.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll scan this in unless you send me do you have a PDF of it already? Or I'll just scan this and put it on?
Yeah, scan that if you would, and I did send it to you. If check your emails.
I will.
Okay.
Okay.
When did you send it? Today?
Yeah, I think I did.
Did you?
Okay.
Or was it yesterday?
A couple that I haven't gotten today from.
I didn't see it yesterday. I don't remember. I would have.
Really?
I'll check.
I know that the whole email thing was happening yesterday and today. So
Yeah.
We've got some bad juju in our emailing.
I suggest that we, for candidates night, that we ask the candidates to comment about the impact on housing opportunity as a result of the change in the bylaw, or the master plan, rather. I think we can stump a few people.
Wait, what did you say? You asked them exactly what?
To analyze the fiscal impact and so forth. So we want to have, when will the results be ready, Rick, do you know? Are you working with Judy? I thought maybe you were.
No.
Actually, on April the 2nd, our next meeting, Jennifer will be here. She's going to walk us through everything that they've compiled to date.
Right.
So, you know, I suspect that they're going to have a lot of the fiscal data already under control and available to us. She'll recap what we've gotten as far as the survey, as far as her research, the demographic stuff that we've already worked through as well.
That's terrific. Because that, I know that the cable is played by many seniors in the town. They look at it and
Yeah.
it's their form of entertainment.
Okay. Meeting minutes?
Let's see. Yeah, let me just make people aware that also on April the 2nd, we do have the Green Meadows project as a public hearing. That's the medical marijuana facility that is coming to this board through the site plan review process. As part of the Associated Board of Selectmen host community agreement with Green Meadows, there were a number of elements within it that the Board of Selectmen's asking the planning board to review on behalf of the town, smells and other kinds of things associated with the project.
As a public hearing?
Yeah, well, it is notified as a public hearing. So that notification process is already underway. One of the things, too, that I wanted to do is to get a peer review engineer beginning to review all of the submittals, which I do have the submittals in my office. Happy to hand those paper copies out to folks. I've already sent you the electronic copies, but if you want plan drawings and all the other submittals too, please feel free to come by and pick them up. I'd be more than happy to get rid of some paper.
Can you maybe do a quick, brief summary of the host agreement and those issues that they specifically want us to look at? I mean, I know we've seen it, but it's been a little while. And
yeah, that's been some time ago. There's some duplication in terms of traffic, site design, engineering, utilities. Smell is a big factor.
How do we tell whether?
Well,
You hire an olfactory engineer.
yeah, as part of the peer review process, they're going to be providing us with resources so we can hire, as I'd mentioned, Beta Engineering. By the way, we had used Beta for a number of projects that have come to the town over the last few years. They're a smallish, multidisciplinary firm, have a lot of capability in-house, so I'm sure we'll get good service from them. So I can get them going fairly quickly on that.
Are they under contract?
Not yet.
And how, do you have to put out a request for proposal?
No, since it's a peer review, I don't.
Oh, okay. So you have to write a scope, though?
Right. I'll write a scope based on the site plan review elements, based on the host community agreement elements as well.
Are we going to hold hearings?
Oh, well, you know, it's a site plan review, so, you know, we get into that process, and it's fairly cookbook in procedural, process from the board of, the planning board, and then we get into the HCA elements too. Again, as I'd mentioned, there's a lot of overlap on some of those. Others there's not, like security kinds of considerations. It's important to get the police chief commenting as part of it. We need to understand as part of the traffic where the trip distribution comes in from, how it goes out, how the truck traffic works, when the loading, unloading is going to take place. So there are a number of things to deal with. There's some water main issues that we need to deal with as well. One of the things that Brian and I talked about is, how do you take this large of a building and make it some way, somehow fit into the rural look of the community, and particularly that end of town, which is very agricultural oriented.
And what did you come up with?
Actually, as we've talked to the applicant, their mindset is that you make it look barn-like. I think, you can use weathered materials or weathered-looking materials. One of the things that I mentioned to Brian that I know works well on large, massive-looking buildings sometimes is you use architectural grading on the side of the building, and you have growies on it. A lot of vines that really soften it up, which is, I can give you examples of where that's taken place that has worked out nicely. Beyond that, as we have preliminarily looked at their site plan, they don't have a lot of maneuverability within their, site area. So, they need a certain size building to address all of the functions internally, as well as their loading and parking and employee parking in the rear. So, they have it closer to the road than what we'd like. However, it's still like 150 feet back from the road.
When you were talking about what it should look like, I was thinking about horse barn too, or barn. Absolutely.
Yeah, we do have barns that are certainly bigger than, than this size in town.
Yeah.
Well, we just got rid of one.
Like Canterbrook. Yeah.
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 Right.
Which like Canterbrook had.
Right, that's why I said we just got rid of one.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Actually, they could have, too bad, they could have maybe picked it up and moved it.
No.
Also, on April the 2nd, we do have the Myer Road subdivision. It was continued to that night, so that will be back before us at our next meeting.
It's going to be a long night.
Yeah.
We're going to listen to the town's, the guy that's been here several times,
Chris?
we hired.
Yep.
And then he will present his stuff. Will we get it before the meeting?
Which project are you referring to, Peter?
Myer Road.
Yeah, Myer Road.
Oh, yeah. Town Council Chris Heap will be here for that meeting.
But does he have a written statement or a position that he's giving to the planning board?
Yes.
Can we have it a week beforehand?
Sure, absolutely.
Good, that's what
Yeah. I would urge you to read the correspondences that I've sent out to you from him heretofore. I think that will be helpful to you. Also, the correspondence that we received from Fire Chief Ray Brunette as well.
Yeah. And from the neighbors. Yep.
Yep.
The other thing is just everybody should just review our site plan review regs and process, just so we're familiar with that for the Patton property.
Would it make sense to invite the associates to attend, especially the April 2nd meeting, because it's going to be the update on the housing by Jen?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to get an experience of what a site plan review looks like for a very important project.
Yep.
I'll make sure and do that.
Well, I'm thinking,
Yeah, I will.
I'm thinking Brian might want to
Yeah, I can.
communicate with them
Yes.
directly.
Right.
Because I just think it's important for, various reasons. Wondering if we can get an article in the Chronicle about advertising the April 2nd meeting. Because it is, sort of an important meeting
Yeah.
and a prelude to the 29th. 29th, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So it would be a good advertising.
You-
You want to advertise that Jen's coming to,
Well,
but
yeah,
also the things we haven't talked about.
you certainly could, advertise that the April 2nd will be a presentation of the project to date, and it can reference the 29th being the next public meeting as well. Is that something that,
But you want to also talk about the site plan review,
Green
just,
Meadow and Myer Road?
you want to talk about all?
not really? I wasn't thinking about it.
Well, why not, though? I mean, everybody
Sure.
says we don't
Yeah.
communicate enough, so, it might, I mean, at least, the grow facility at Patton, I mean, people, want to know about that. I think that might not be a bad idea to include in there.
That's fine. I was just thinking more of the housing.
Yeah, no, right.
Housing.
We should have the
we're-
housing topic first, because the people will all be here for the Green Meadow and
Yeah.
Myer Road, and then they will hear the housing too.
How long do you think that'll take,
Which one?
Jen's presentation?
I'm guessing probably no more than 45 minutes, if that.
Yeah, okay.
Probably more like half an hour.
Send me something on whatever the announcement is too, because I'll put it on the Hamilton Wenham community page, the residents page, and the Hamilton Affordable Housing Advocates page.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do that first, Myer Road, and then Patton.
Yeah, because Myer,
Myer's been in before,
right, I mean, Myer Row is pretty cut and dry at this point,
essentially.
based on what our attorney
Yeah.
provided to us previously.
Not everybody agrees with you, but
I understand
I-
that, but they can have their day in court, but, we can't just sit here and go around in circles on it, given what we've been told by our attorney.
No, I understand. I agree. It's not us that I'm talking about either.
I understand.
I'm going to throw this out as just something to think about. When people come in, can we have a standard for what the quality of what they present to us? Just let me finish. Pretty simple, straightforward. Most lawyers get it right. They know what to say. They know how to say it. It's literate. It's edited, proofread. But when private citizens come in, and I won't mention who I'm specifically thinking of, but one of them used a word in the heading that was inappropriate, at least in my mind. I'll talk to you about it privately sometime, Patrick. There were misspellings in the writing. One of the statements wasn't clear in my mind, and
I don't know how you can really
Yeah, how are you going to
police
police
that
that?
before we get it, right?
How are you going to police
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I think
Some
it
of
just-
some
it-
of them were. Some of these people have sent us stuff to Patrick ahead of time, and then sent us out to us ahead of time. So, Patrick or somebody could intercept it and say,
Well,
"Look,
no, that's not Patrick's job to
okay,
proofread their
I'm just throwing it
material.
out."
No, I know, it's just, yeah, I know what you're saying, it would make things easier at times, but, some people hire attorneys, some people do things on their own, and people have
I get
different
all that.
abilities for writing or speaking, so it's just,
When you ran for the planning board, you signed up for any and all comers.
I understand. I'm just, if you don't throw it out, the answer is no. So I'll throw it out and get told no. I'd rather do that.
Okay.
You might say yes. I might win one or two of these out of 10 or 20 or 100.
Actually, I agree with Mr. Boroff from one
Oh, my
aspect of
God.
that.
Thank you.
But the other side of that is the person that's out in the audience who is not articulate, who doesn't know about public speaking, doesn't know what end of a microphone works or doesn't work. It's also important that we encourage them to speak, even if they speak not inaccurately, but less dramatically.
Yeah. The drama part of it, you know, I understand what you're saying, Ed, and I agree, and that goes back to what Brian said, you know, how do you do it? But a lot of the people that live in town are quite articulate and quite educated and should know better. And I'm being judgmental, and I realize that, and I take that into consideration too for trying to do what I'm asking. But I just thought I'd throw it out. I have no problem with getting told no.
Well, and it's not even just, it's putting work on someone that doesn't, you know, or people that they don't need that, right? And I don't want to be, again, policing what people are giving to us. Right, that's not our job.
It's fine.
Really.
I have no problem with that.
I completely get where you're coming from, and it is frustrating at times. But again, it's just not on us or really anybody in town hall to parse that stuff and to police that.
My observation is that many of your committees, like your CPC committee, the Historic Commission, the building permit under the building inspector. Their forms have become more formal in the last years that they've been. So there's more information that what Mr. Boroff's indicating. It is getting onto the paperwork before it gets to us.
Yeah, and I think, what I'm assuming you're referring to are just letters mainly that come to us from, abutters or, people in town, right? It's not so much a form. It's just, it's more of
it's the freestyle stuff.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I realized when Ed was talking that it could become discriminatory, or you could have a claim of discrimination if you started editing some of that stuff. So I get that it would be very difficult to do. So no problem.
You'll remember at our last meeting we had another Canterbrook amendment, and it was regarding the temporary sign. I have the decision prepared based on the plans that we received and the board acceptance of it, ready for signature.
Great.
There was another one floating around with signatures on it before. Is this?
This is different. The one that was I got Janelle, Ed's, and Peter's signatures on was the amendment that took place on the decision January 29th. So I don't always remember these at the end of the meeting.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Oh, I think this might go with it.
While that's going around, may I tell you where the Open Space Committee is? And save some time? Okay. I did get elected chair. I offered, I was asked, and then I said, okay, yeah, I'd like to do it, but does anybody else want it? And one of the members piped up and said, it's all you.
So what was this?
Open Space Committee, the new Open Space Committee.
So you are chair?
I am chair. I had suggested to them have meeting twice a month, and one of the members piped up and said, no, how about weekly? So we are now meeting weekly as of this Thursday, the second time. Yeah, right, I know.
How long will that last?
That's what I'm wondering. Well, God bless them. If they want to do it, I'll do it. So we're meeting for an hour every Thursday morning. And I made a couple of other suggestions, like stuff that I thought, and I sent out documents, figured out I should have sent a different one.
Who's on the committee?
Huh?
Who's on the committee?
Oh, I gave you that last time.
Talked about it last time. You don't need to list everybody tonight again.
Never mind.
5 people that live in the general area over there in Partridge Berry and Chabaco Road. Okay, and they all seem pretty gung-ho. One guy, Bill Kerr, wants to do Section 6 because he has been doing maps of trails for years, and it has to do with that topic. So God bless him. You know, two people wanted to do one of the sections because it was 1 page or 2 pages. Okay, thank you. We're, at any rate, we're off and running.
Upgrading the existing plan?
Yeah, just reviewing it. It's determining where it's at. Also, on April 4th, Patrick, if you want to come, come. If you don't, that's okay. We're going to have a representative of MACP, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, MAPC, come and tell us how he can work with us and what he's going to do and stuff like that. That was thanks to Joe Joe D.
Demelowitz.
Demelowitz, right. Say it again?
Demelowitz.
Demelowitz, yeah. That was, he got it for us. And that person's going to work with us, so we'll see how that formula works into the whole thing. It's going to be interesting.
So meeting minutes from March 5th. Any comments, additions, subtractions?
Thank you.
Approval of the minutes of March 5th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Anything else from anyone?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And there we have it.
Stay forever.
Excellent.